supersedes your talent in a lot of ways. I was literally willing to die for it, and I mean that.
How did you end up meeting Eminem?
My homie Jim Johnson was doing Satellites, that Eminem record. He's like, yo, seriously, you heard Wolf yet? And he hadn't, so he played him Pop the Trunk, and he filmed it and sent it to me. Days later, we were in Detroit. There I was, standing in front of Marshall. I didn't give myself a plan B. I was 30 years old before I landed a record deal, so it was a long grind. I run toward the monster. That's my way of dealing with fear. I got to be face to face with it. I can't turn my back on it, can't run from it, I gotta run toward it.
Oh, what's the new album?
War Story.
Double album.
I called it War Story, tipping my hat to Love Story and what we've been through since Love Story. The soldiers we've become, you know, the soldier I've become, the general, the leader now. It's by far my best hip hop project, for sure.
Yelawolf, welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate it, Ed. Thanks for having me, man.
Man, I'm extremely excited to have you. I've been wanting to interview you for a while. Got a lot of good Nashville people in here, and can't really think of anybody better than you. So,
oh, dude, thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
one of the originals. So, when did you actually move to Nashville?
I moved to Antioch, Tennessee, first time. Well, we went to Franklin when I was about 7, 8 years old. Mm-hmm. And then from Franklin, we moved to Antioch, and I was about maybe 10, 11 years old. So I spent my formidable years in Antioch and Nashville coming up, you know. Eventually I moved to Atlanta, and then back to Alabama, and then I've been back as an adult in Nashville again for like 14 years now.
How old are you now?
44.
44. Okay, so graduated, or I don't know if you graduated high school, but 97-ish was.
Didn't graduate high school, actually.
So I barely did. So, but I was 99. Where did you go? So
I went to 15 different schools.
Okay.
Man. I went to, you know, throughout those 3 states. In Tennessee, there was 3 schools in Franklin that I don't remember the names of. And then there was Apollo Middle School. I remember that. There was a school before Apollo as well. And then Carter Lawrence Middle School. Mm-hmm. You know, before
that's Davidson County. If I remember correctly.
They would bus us actually from Antioch.
Okay.
They were integrating the schools. They were bringing kids from the projects to Antioch and sending kids from Antioch to the projects, which I get what they were trying to do, but they were just really creating a huge drug ring.
Yeah, connections everywhere in the city.
Bigger gangs.
Yeah.
But I went to Hillsborough High School, went to Antioch High School, and then I went off to Atlanta and went to a few schools there, then to Gadsden, finally to Southside, where I spent really like about 6 months. And the school counselor called me in, this true story, and she was like, hey, I had already failed like 4 grades. I was supposed to be a senior. I was still in between 9th and 10th grade classes. I don't think I ever brought a book to school, or even a backpack for that matter, after 6th grade. I just completely checked out. And she was like, yeah, I think it'd be best if you just got your GED. You know, you can leave. I was like, I can leave?
Yeah.
16, man. And I never looked back, man. Actually, I went on a skate trip to Tampa, skated Tampa Am, which is the biggest skateboard contest in the world in '97.
So you were a skateboarder, and like you met Edward, you were through school or through like tagging?
Through art, yeah, through tagging. At school we met, but through art is how we connected. I had a sketchbook, I think in the lunchroom, and I used to write Coma, Koma, and I was sketching out some burners or whatever, and he looked over my shoulder. He's like, "Hey, you a writer?" And I was like, "Yeah, you?" And that was it. We were fit to be tied after that. I think that day actually, I was like, let's go write. We were already hitting tunnels and tagging and shit by that night. And we went back to his crib. This is hilarious. And went down into his basement. And he's like, yo, I do magic. I was like, what? You do magic? He's like, yeah, I'm a magician. I was like, really, for real? And he showed me all this shit. He could like saw people in half and, you know, pull rabbit out of hats and shit and all kinds of card tricks.
Okay.
It was just interesting. Most interesting person I think I've ever met. Edward Crowe.
Yeah, he definitely very talented
Who
and creative.
becomes a magician at 14 years old and you're a graffiti writer?
Yeah, I don't know. I never talked to him about this, so I'm going to dig in. What was the most impressive magic trick Edward did?
Changed my career. He's got some pretty crazy card tricks, you know, like I know the trick, so you know, as an assistant, I can't tell.
Man, you see some of these mentalists doing their stuff, like that Oz guy, Oz Perlman, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, I've been watching the videos and just trying to figure out how he knows these things about their childhood.
Yeah.
You have any idea how they do this stuff?
I'm not sure. I think that like I do believe some people are honestly blessed, and I do believe some people are mediums for real. You know, you just tapped in.
Sure.
You know, some people tap into some shit. You know, I mean, we all are tapped into something. You know what I mean? And if we exercise it enough, it becomes unbelievable to someone who hasn't exercised that part of their mind or their creativity or whatever. I think with practice, passion, you can become amazing at pretty much anything, you know?
Yeah.
It's just it's just a very interesting part of the mind that he chose to tap into, you know, instead of becoming a professional athlete.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, my grandmother's, rest in peace, Mama, she had that ability too, you know?
What would she do?
Well, she would actually, she could like astral project, and she used to come like, it's gonna sound insane, but it's true. She used to come like, you know, dream interact, you know, with me when I was a little boy. Especially, you know, I had some trauma that was happening when I was a little kid. And I thought I was dreaming at the time. She flew through my window, pulled me out of bed, flew me around over the river, tucked me in her house, tucked me in her bed. And I remember waking up and crying. I was like 5 years old, and I had, you know, went through some shit that night. And when I was like 14 or 15, I was like, Mama, I would tell you about this dream I had. I was like, I never told you about this, but I was, you know, I got beat up basically by my mom's boyfriend. And I had a dream that you came in my window, and she said, yeah, and I took you and we flew over the river, and I took you to the house and I tucked you in, and she finished my dream. She finished what happened.
Yeah.
You know, and I just grew up with that mysticism and that belief, you know, like ghost in the house, that was a real thing, you know, and she was a self-proclaimed witch, you know, like she, you know, she believed in all that. She believed in good, you know, earth magic, stuff like that. So we had like a lot of stuff around that. We had Ouija boards around the house, you know, that's the kind of family I was raised around, you know, just that deep Southern mystic, you know, lifestyle.
Do you believe in like the spiritual world? Are you a spiritual person? What do you say?
Yeah, I'm definitely a spiritual person. I'm not a religious person. I do believe in a higher power. You know, I'm as life, as you get older, you know, it becomes actually harder to define than it was when I was a kid. You know, there's more questions than answers. So these days I'm just floating around, you know, and figuring it out.
I think that's a sign of maturity. So there's more questions than answers, because a lot of stuff years ago I thought I had figured out, and now I'm like, I know less now than I did than I thought I knew then.
In a spiritual sense, absolutely. You become smarter. You get better at life, but you really scratch your head about what you thought you had figured out when you were a kid. You know, I mean, I used to be really deep into it, like, you know, as far as my own, you know, Egyptology and numerology and, you know, being a native to the stars. And, you know, me and my crew, we took it far. There used to be this spot in Edenton, Georgia, ran by this guy named Dr. York. And it was pretty much a cult. You know, he had redid the Sphinx and the Pyramid of Giza in scale size. He had his own libraries and a cult of people that would follow him. And it was all about, you know, Jesus was an alien, and, you know, and explaining in detail what species was from what galaxy and who they were and how long they've been there. You know, all that crazy shit. And, which, you know, I was sold on it, you know, when I was a kid. I was all about it. And it still stayed with me. Like, aliens and have always been a theme around my music. And, you know, and my core fans know that it's always been a part of my, you know, I'll sneak in lyrics. And the opening to Love Story was an abduction, an alien abduction, like a skit. But yeah, like I said, I know less now, you know, and there, like I said, there's more questions now than there were then. I thought like, oh yeah, I got it figured out. I didn't know shit, you know, and yeah, I'm still learning. I'm just a student, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that way, like with science. Like 9 years ago, I would have thought like, oh, I know this, and that, and I've dove headfirst. Like, this is a textbook on immunotherapy for cancer. And like, you know, you start going through the textbooks and you start going through, you know, all of the different things that are out there. I'm like, I know way less now than I thought I knew then.
What guided you into this path?
Well, my mom was sick. We didn't have any options in America. So I tore my LCL, PCL, and meniscus training fighters, 2009, 2008-ish. And team doctors gave me opiates. I got addicted to opiates for a couple of years.
Oh, shit. That sucks.
Yeah, it was tough. And so about a couple of years in, I took...
Been there, by the way.
Yeah, man. It's a lot of people have now. And I went to a therapist, and I was like, hey, you know, I'm still running all my companies and stuff, but I'd rather have a clear brain and deal with the pain than a foggy brain and no pain. And he said, America's behind the times when it comes to opiate withdrawal. Google Ibogaine. And so I Google Ibogaine, and it's just supposedly the strongest psychedelic drug in the world. Stops 100% of opiate withdrawals. I was skeptical, but it was illegal in America, available in Mexico. So I watched a couple of documentaries. I'm like, you know what? I believe those people.
What is it, a root? Or
Yeah, it comes from the Tabernathi Iboga root in Gabon, Africa. It's what the Bwiti use for the rites of passage ceremony. And so the Iboga root bark has a bunch of...
You just spit that out like it's like weird, like it was a McDonald's order. That was way too natural.
Oh.
What it is again?
Yeah, so it comes from the Tabernathi Iboga root in Gabon, Africa. And it's what the Bwiti tribe...
tribe.
Yep, the Bwiti use for the rites of passage ceremony. And they do the whole root bark, and they do it like for days.
That's gnarly.
It's hardcore, like 3-4 days at a time. Well, this is one alkaloid specifically out of that root bark that the science, now I understand the science, it binds to the opiate receptor and stops 100% of withdrawals. So you can take a heroin addict who's been on 3 grams of heroin a day, they do Ibogaine, they're going to trip for 30 hours, but they're going to be clean when they get done. Yeah, it's wild.
So did you commit? You went and you you went on you did the journey?
Yeah, I flew to Mexico City, took a bus to Tepoztlan, which is a couple hours south, did Ibogaine at a place called Iboga Quest. Shout out to Iboga Quest. Helped me out a lot. And
Iboga Quest.
Iboga Quest, yeah. And I was home 72 hours later. Never had a withdrawal, never had a craving. And so I thought, if that can help people, but isn't available in the United States, what else is out there? My mom was really sick without options in America. And so she had failed all of her standard treatment for her RA. She'd gotten multiple staph infections. She got tuberculosis because of the side effects, just killing her immune system. And we were out of options. And there was a study that I had read from 1923 on Coley's toxins for rheumatoid arthritis. And this is like this killed dead bacteria mixed in a vaccine form. And I was like, that makes sense because it stimulated the immune system instead of suppressed it. And I thought my mom needs to reset her immune system. It was like intuitive. That's how it should work. Now looking back, I'm like, what did I know then? But it made sense. And so there was a hospital in Mexico that had it, but had been closed for a couple of years. And so Scotty and Dedrick, my two partners, and I found the original owner. We bought the hospital from him, hired back the staff. My mom came in a wheelchair, and she left 3 weeks later walking. And she's been in remission ever since.
Wow.
And so that was the catalyst behind it all. But,
so, I mean, I got to ask, how did you buy a hospital?
Well,
where is
it was an old, so it was in Tijuana. It's probably 30 years old. Needed a lot of work. And we made a deal with the owner. The building was just sitting there, not doing anything. And we're like, hey, he was trying to sell it, couldn't get any buyers. And we just worked out our deal with him.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a catalyst behind it. But there's a lot of stuff out there, man. That's talk about a spiritual journey. That was a whole spiritual journey.
So the hospital functions as, what's the primary?
Well, what we're most known for is stem cells. We're the largest manufacturer.
That's what I was going to get to.
Yeah, we're the largest manufacturer of mesenchymal stem cells in the world right now. And then the cancer side, the stem cells funds all of our cancer research. We're building the best solid tumor genomics lab on the planet right now. Should be done in July. And, it's a passion. And we actually treated with psychedelics.
Dude, you're like the most interesting man in the world.
Oh, man.
It's crazy. The hell?
Well,
what a story.
We're from Nashville, man. This is what they teach you.
Are you from Nashville?
Born and raised, yeah.
So where did you go to school?
Overton.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you went to college as well?
No, I was fighting. The UFC wasn't big then, so I just wanted to fight because a lot of people didn't know about it, and I was like just obsessed with it. Kind of like you said, you were skateboarding. Not everybody skateboards, but when you get into it, you're hardcore into skateboarding. Same thing with fighting back in the day, and I always wanted to know. Like I'm curious in the sense what works and what doesn't work. Like what style. I didn't have money growing up, so I would go through the yellow pages and I'd call the martial arts school, the karate. I'm like, hey, can your kung fu beat this karate? Like I would just talk to them just because I was so curious. And then when the UFC came out, I was like, oh shit, it's Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Sick.
Yeah, man.
So, but you're just self-taught, and as far as the medical field is all just self-taught.
Yeah, a lot of good teachers though. We have a lot of great scientists work with us, so get to ask questions constantly. So you get to realize how much you don't know.
Wow. Yeah. See, that blows my mind. It's listening to you. To retain all of that and repeat it, I would have to listen to you. I understand what you're saying. You know what I mean? But for it to stick and reiterate that to someone, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time for it to stay with you.
Well, I think with your music, though, for instance, you probably you memorize songs and the meaning behind the lyrics, and you're able to, once you're passionate about something, you're able to spit it out.
Yeah, and
you're known for just spitting out wild shit, more complicated than anybody else can say and think. I mean, so you have that massively creative brain that I would assume most rappers wish they could do what you can do. That type of brain.
Is the process, man, to get to the point of writing, writing songs, writing lyrics, raps, singer-songwriter songs, whatever it is. With me started with just gibberish, I wish I still had this collection of notebooks. I lost a large portion of my childhood that I had. I mean, I'm talking about from books to boom boxes, all the even old stuffed animals, old blankets, and we lost it in a storage unit that didn't get paid for. But I had a stack of notebooks literally up to my waist, and every single page was front and back full of lyrics. And most of it is just like, it's like shadow boxing. It's just the practice of writing, rhyming, and figuring out how to not just be skillful as a rapper, or an artist in general, but what that looked like and what it should sound like was the biggest challenge. Like when it clicked that, oh, I'm a white boy from a trailer park in Huntsville, Alabama, and I bumped 3-6 Mafia and Metallica and Hank Williams. Oh my God, Catfish Billy. And I'm like, oh shit. It started, what I'm going to talk about, how I'm going to bring my culture. That was the hardest part to figure out. And it was literally like the lights just turned on.
One day. When was that? What do you say?
Huntsville, Alabama, I want to say 23 years ago, 24 years ago, which would be what?
2001-ish?
Yeah. No, 2003.
2003.
When it was like, oh, fuck, just kind of figuring that out. And then, I was 30 years old before I landed a record deal, you know what I mean? So it was a long grind.
Yeah.
Of getting there and figuring that part out too. Like I don't know how typically doctors or surgeons go to school for 10 to 15 years, So I went to school in my own right, for 10 to 15 years, and that 10,000 hour thing is a real thing.
I agree.
Into anything. And, I'm up to 100,000 hours at this point,
I mean, when you were going through that 10-year journey, 10-year or so journey, did you know that you were going to be successful? Was it like your focus? You're like, it might not be now, but it's happening?
Man, I didn't give myself a plan B. That was my strategy. And I was literally willing to die for it. And I mean that literally. I put myself in the most dangerous situations and just was not going to stop. And there was a certain, ego supersedes your talent in a lot of ways. I'm sure for a lot of people it did for me. But it's that knowing that you're going to do it and knowing that you are going to win and making these affirmations and, visualizing who you are. And that was a real thing, in 99, I went out to Seattle, took a Greyhound bus to Seattle and slept on the streets and got on a boat, did the deadliest catch shit, like for a whole season, just to make a supposed 20 grand that I was going to buy my music equipment with, and came home with $1,000. That's a whole nother story. But I came back like really strong mentally after that trip. But yeah, just like putting myself in the absolute gnarliest situations. And I've always thought like, I run toward the monster. That's my way of dealing with fear, is I got to be face to face with it. I can't turn my back on it, can't run from it, I got to run toward it. And, I just go in, man, to this day, I just, killer instincts, and that as a fighter, it's all good till you get in the ring, and then it's become a monster.
You got to perform.
Have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just part of the ritual of being an artist, man, is like, and that's something that some artists unfortunately will never grasp. And those are the artists that end up going and getting a job.
Yeah. Well, when I hear you speak, it reminds me, like whenever I interview people that are successful, actually most people I interview are successful. They all say they had this vision in their head, and they knew, they were going to do it hell or high water. You were willing to die. You didn't leave any other option B. And when people hear that, they think, they might think, is it just my brain? But you also worked really, really hard and
that's what I was saying. The work ethic and the ego that had to feed my talent. I had to get good. Right. If I wanted to be an artist, I had to get fucking good, So just the practice, and falling down in front of people. That's probably ultimately the hardest thing when it comes to being an artist. Visual artist or making music is, and in hip hop, it's hardcore. So ciphers in the streets, sketchy clubs, sketchy people, sketchy situations, and then just the brutal honesty of hip hop, getting booed off stage, shit thrown at you, spit on, the worst things said about you, and you have to persevere through all of that, And so falling down in front of people, I think is that's the hardest thing to deal with, when you're out there.
Yeah. But you got back up. Every time.
Have to. Well, you keep getting back up until, then it's like, then you take your shirt off and you're like, fuck it. I've been, I was out opening for an artist, Wiz Khalifa one time, and we were playing his college. And we were up to like 10, 11 shows, and it was hit or miss. And when I say hit or miss, I mean like 50-50. Like I was probably going to get booed, and we all kind of knew that. And we were up to 10 shows. And, I had a record popping. Pop the Trunk was out and going crazy at the time. And, but for whatever reason, it didn't connect with a lot of these fans. But, I remember the night that where I just stopped giving a fuck entirely because I was getting hit so hard with it. And I'm making $400 a night, to put 4 of us in one hotel room. We're touring in a van. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
Type. It was like, come on. So I just remember one night they started booing and shit. I walked out on stage, they just started booing immediately. And so I just took my shirt off and just sat there and just stared at them all. And I was like, hey, y'all ready for Wiz Khalifa? They go off. You're going to have to fucking deal with me first. And I look to the right, and my old manager Bear, man, he's a huge cat, like from the streets for real, and he was crying, because like we were going fucking through it, But that's the kind of shit that makes you,
Yeah.
Oh shit, man. There's a lot of artists that's never been booed, man. It's pretty crazy. I asked some of these people, they're like, nah, that's never happened to me. I'm like,
I think
what?
like for you to come up like you're a white rapper, especially like now you're starting to see it more, but like 15 years ago, you had Eminem, but like there weren't a lot of other white rappers coming up.
Nah, I mean, you could say that it's not a thing anymore, and I think it's a lot less of a thing. But shit, when I was coming up, you know, going to the Atrium in Atlanta, Georgia in 1997 or 96 and to a 3 6 Mafia Mystical concert. There's no other white boys in there,
Yeah.
you know? But that was my world, you know? And I was completely comfortable, you know? Comfortable in it. Loved it, actually, you know? So, yeah, it's a different thing, man, you know, going to Bankhead in Georgia to a strip club and, you know, like grabbing the mic, you know what I mean? And
But when you start rapping, they have to have some respect, right? I mean, like, if they might be booing are they booing the whole time, or are they like, damn, okay, you know?
well, yeah, I mean, there's certain people and there's certain cats that, you know, that get sold on it as the show progresses.
Yeah.
But this is not always the case, you know.
Sure.
I mean, obviously we've killed it.
You've
know?
evolved way past that, but back in
Yeah.
the day, I should say.
But there's some proving ground, you know, and I'm not easily digestible. I get it, you know, like, you know, white boy with a fucking mullet mohawk with tattoos and from Alabama talking this country shit, you know, and, you know, but you couldn't deny my skill. You might not like me. You might not like the music, but you certainly couldn't deny the skill level or the quality of the music. You know, not everybody's for everybody. My mama don't like Bob Dylan. I don't get it. I don't understand it. She despises his music and hates the way he sounds. I love Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
But, you know, so you just got to find your people. You got to find your tribe, and we've done that.
Yeah.
Slumerican, baby.
Yeah, I want to get into Slumerican. But first, how did you end up meeting Eminem, and how did that whole connection kind of come about?
Well, you know, let's say like, okay, so in 2000, I was in New York and I signed a production deal with this dude named Mark Siegel. And Mark Siegel passed on Eminem. And in his office, he had a whole stack of tapes. And I just happened to see a tape on the floor. It's 2000. And it was an In Too Deep tape, which was white rappers, right? And he had overdubbed In Too Deep with his demo.
Okay.
Eminem, that he gave to Mark. Mark passed on him. So I put that tape in my pocket. I stole it. And I took it home and I told my cousin Jared, I was like, and we're sitting in an apartment in a fucking rusty ass 82 box Chevy Caprice, you know, like on food stamps and a fucking in the hood basically. And I pulled that tape out and I was like, look at this shit. I was like, one day I'm gonna put this in his hands, bro. I promise you. And he goes, damn right you are. And you know, that I think that there's this, when you're in the bottom together, you know what I mean? Anything's possible. You know what I'm saying? Anything's fucking possible. It's like when he said that, you know, when I look back on that, I know why he said damn right. It's because he needed me to be successful as much as I needed him to be successful, you know? But man, you know, 10 years later, I put that tape right in his hands. And I didn't ask for a photo. I didn't ask for any documentation for it. That was for me.
Nice.
But how I met Marshall specifically was, you know, we got a deal with Columbia. Fuck, my years get away with me. In like 2000, fuck, I don't know what it was. I forget. But my first deal was with Columbia. Then Rick Rubin came in to Columbia and fired everybody. So that deal was gone. And I had to go back to Gadsden. And we got it cracking again, and Pop the Trunk came out and was buzzing real hard. So we had deals on the table, a lot of deals. But, I had already done the song and dance, performing for people in their offices and nothing happening. And, so L.A. Reid brought me in to do to give me a deal. It was just days before Christmas. We didn't have shit. I didn't have shit still. And it's literally 3 days before Christmas, and my kids are kids, I got a Christmas to take care of.
Right.
And I got nothing. And I'm in a house with no heat. I mean, dude, we're boiling water to take baths and leaving the oven open to heat the house type of deal. And he offered me, he brought me into the office, and I was with Kawan Prather, J. Jones, Courtney Seals, Bear, myself. We went into the office, and L.A. Reid had brought the whole company into his office. He sat me down in front of his desk. He's just like, Yelawolf, something like, Yelawolf's gonna give y'all the a cappella version of what he does. And he put on a beat, and I looked at KP and I looked at LA. I said, man, LA, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this right now, man. This never works. So I got a show opening up for Raekwon tomorrow night. If y'all want to come see me perform, you come see me. I'll be in Harlem. And he goes, well, what are we doing? I was like, I don't know. What are we doing? And Kawan kicked me so fucking hard under the table. And he said, I guess nothing. I said, well, I guess nothing then. And our whole company was like, this dude just turned, oh my God. And then as soon as I walked out of that door, my anxiety just fucking swallowed me. I was like, oh my God. I thought I was gonna fucking puke. I was like, I just fucked it all up. I fucked everything up. My managers wouldn't even speak to me. And that next night, when I did open up for Raekwon, I walked out on that fucking stage. I was so gone in my head about what had happened. I was like, yo, what up? I'm Yelawolf. This is my first time in Alabama. And oh my God. Boo! Oh, they just fucking went off on me.
Damn.
First time in Alabama. What an idiot. But I got through that. And I think a month or two passed. And shit, Pop the Trunk was still buzzing, really heavy. But I still didn't have shit, I wasn't getting I didn't have shit quite yet, Not shit meaning no deal. Still in the same piece of shit house. So LA calls me and personally and said, I just want to have a meal with just me and you. Just me and you. And it was me, Kawan Prather, and L.A. Reid. And so he sets a date to fly me up there, back to New York, to have this personal one-on-one meeting with them. And so I went to Waffle House up the street, and I wrote and memorized this verse for him. And we went up into the office, and Kawan didn't know. No one knew I had this verse. And he sat me down in front of him, and he was playing Pink Floyd. And when I walked through the door, so I was like, he's been studying me. He knows I like classic rock. So he's playing Pink Floyd, and he goes, you know what the song's about? And I was like, no, not really. He goes, if you listen to the lyrics, they're saying, they're talking to a CEO, and the CEO asks the band, you guys are great, but which one of you is pink? And so what he's saying is the CEO didn't know who the fuck he was talking to, I'm just like you, and we're the same person. I used to be an artist, and so look, are we gonna do this? Let's do this. And I stood up and turned my back, and I walked out, and I walked over to the windows looking over Manhattan, and I just started fucking snapping on this verse with my back turned about how hard Christmas was, how hard it was to tell him no, and why I had to tell him no at that time, and why I was gonna tell him no again. And when I turned around, Kawan was crying. It was an emotional thing.
Sure.
And I was like, man, KP, you play my shit for Eminem yet? And he goes, you're crazy. You're crazy, Wolf. Seriously, you're crazy. And so Jimmy Iovine, I guess, heard about that. And when I went to play South by Southwest, Jimmy sent Todd Parker out to, which is a good friend of mine now, Todd Parker out to follow me around South by Southwest. And we fucked South by Southwest up. We snapped. You know, I was doing like 4 shows a day. And Jimmy had Todd and I and Kawan flown to LA and straight to his house. So we had done that whole weekend, and then we flew out Monday morning straight to his house. I was sitting on his couch in his living room waiting for him. He comes out. He goes, listen, man, I heard what happened. We're not gonna do none of that tap dance and shit. He goes, Luke, he's talking to Luke Wood. He goes, Luke, bring the checkbook. And he brings the checkbook. And I was like, hey, man, listen, you don't have to cut a check, man. I respect how you've done that to begin with. And honestly, I love Interscope. And, you know, I've always been a fan. You know, I know the history. I knew some of his history, you know, his connection to Fleetwood Mac and all that. And so I respected the way he handled it. And I was like, man, it's all good, man. I'm in. Let's go. He goes, you like basketball? So he took me he said, yo, crank the car. Took me courtside to see the Lakers. And, you know, a couple of days later, he had pitched to partner up with Eminem. And then Eminem, it wasn't really happening quickly. But then my homie Jim Johnson was doing Satellites, that Eminem record, Satellites with Haley in Miami. And Jim Johnson, because he's such a fucking real friend and a homie, he's like, yo, seriously, you heard Wolf yet? And he hadn't seen it. So he played him Pop the Trunk, the video. And he filmed it and sent it to me. He had somebody filming Marshall watching it. And I was like, oh my God. Shit, it was like days later, we were in Detroit. And we just clicked, man. It just happened. And, you know, and there I was standing in front of Marshall. And when he walked around the corner, reciting Pop the Trunk.
Oh, nice.
Word for word.
That's awesome.
Like spitting it back to me. I was mind blown.
When did you give him that tape?
So after we signed with him, I think within that month, we were like, fuck it, let's go do an album. You know, let's just go to an album. So we locked in, myself, Pooh Bear, at Molly Malls in Vegas with Willpower. And we did an album. And when we went back to LA to see Marshall at his Super Bowl Lipton party, and it was me, Dr. Dre, Slaughterhouse, Marshall, myself, Paul Rosenberg, KPJ. Bear. And I was sitting next to Marshall, and I was like, hey, man, I did an album. He said, you did an album? Because I was like, yeah, I did an album. He goes, what? He's like, oh, Paul, you did an album. And he goes, what? And they were both like, what? Let's hear it. So he set up a studio time the next day, and I had that tape in my bag on purpose. I knew that I had the album, and I knew that I might have an opportunity to play it for him. And so the next day I walked in the studio. I was like, hey, man, I got something to show you. And I've had this for 10 years. And I put it in his hands, and he goes, what? And he told me the apartment he was living in when he cut it. Him and Royce were living together in this apartment. You know what I mean? He knew exactly the tape. It was his tape for real. And he knew about Mark Siegel. And about it. Obviously, he knew everything. But it was legit.
Yeah.
What if it wasn't his tape, though?
Yeah, you're like, what? This isn't me? Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. Yeah, it's little things like that people that respect the game, no matter if it's rap or if it's fighting, or, know that people will respect that type of thing. You know, the meaningful stuff, the little things.
Yeah. You know, and after that, it was like, you know, what else can I manifest, you know? Mm-hmm. You know, that was a very, like, a moment for me. And because it was so, I think that, I believe that I was, may have been rewarded in a way, you know, energetically, like, by not wanting to be photographed or, you know, to be filmed or that was because I just made that just for me. Mm-hmm. That whole 10 years that it took, you know, to get there. Yeah, man, it woke up that power that's given. We're all given that power. Mm-hmm. If you can just get through the shit, amazing things will happen. Yeah. And every person has the ability. Everybody.
You think like, why do most people fail? It's because they quit too soon. You know?
Yeah, like
I mean, it's like that's what it is. Like they quit. If you kept going, there's times to give up certain things, but for the most part, you know, that perseverance and drive and not quitting.
You only fail.
Yeah.
You win every once in a while. Mm-hmm. You always fail. That's part of it. That's like you have to look at failing as winning. It's like your stepping stone. Every loss, every failure, every fucking, it's only perceived as a loss for real. Because when you look back, you're like, yeah, I had to go through that in order to get to here.
Yep.
It's hard, you know. The shit sucks, you know, but...
There's a quote that came to mind when you said that success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. Mm. You know?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. You just got to brush it off, man. And some things are harder to brush off than others, man. But you got to get up and go. So
what was it like there? So you're with Eminem. Then you knew you were like... Now this thing that I've been dreaming of the last 10 years and working really hard with my head down and not, you know, being in the spotlight. Now it's here. Like, what's the mindset then?
Well, I actually didn't know what to expect or how hard it was going to be for me. You know, obviously the blessing of being in the company of Eminem, especially a white rapper from Alabama, was everybody wanted to be a part of this project. Everybody. Because they thought it was going to be the biggest album in the world. And, you know, so creatively, I was a bit nervous of losing my control. You know, and I did lose a great deal of control in different areas, and I had to earn that back. But I knew that there was going to be a time almost immediately where I was going to have to say no to Marshall because I didn't agree with something creatively. I knew that moment was going to happen at some point, and it did. And it was difficult, you know, difficult conversations, man.
How did it go? How did he take it?
He took it like like maybe I would have as well, you know, like a creative. We're creative people, sure. You know, and it wasn't really criticism. It was just a disagreement on a mix or like, you know, a mix on Let's Roll with Kid Rock or, you know, things like that, or like wanting to bring in Malay to do some drum programming because I felt strong that he should be in the session. And you know, after Radioactive, that was my freshman album. I think they knew, and then also we knew where we kind of took our hands off the wheel. And so when I set out to do Love Story, I came back to Tennessee and locked in. And I came back to Nashville and just I didn't want to be interrupted in any kind of way. I had to see this vision through exactly how I wanted it to be. You know that scene in Wayne's World where they go from this really rad underground show to getting picked up straight corporate?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah.
All the way up into changing my logo, creating merch that was whack.
Yeah.
You know, like all the things, man. All the stupid
Corporate
big
things.
corporate shit. It
Yep.
didn't have anything to do with Marshall. That was on the Interscope side, you
Sure.
know, like just it was just so corny. A lot of shit was so corny. So I had to survive that shit. The only way that I could survive that was to lock in and try to make the album of my lifetime up until that point. So that's what we set out to do, man. And but I earned a lot of respect and a lot of trust after Love Story, you know. I knew what I was doing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Like if you have a disagreement with somebody, even if they're say legends in their field or whatever, like if there's respect, you can have that. That's actually what creating is kind of about. I mean, business, I know that like I have three business partners now, but two of us have lived together for 9 years. And we go at it constantly in a healthy way. In 9 years, I bet you we might have only had 2 or 3 real arguments. That's it. And we've lived together. But, you know, there's a respect where, you know, we know that we want what's best for whatever we're doing. And we know that the other person does too. And so you can have that, you know, very direct dialogue. And that's how, you know, really you can get a lot of stuff done. So I was curious with somebody like Eminem, you know, legend. And, you know, is it, you know, sometimes in certain situations, egos can get in the way. Not that he's got a big ego or whatever. I don't know anything about him. But yeah, so his his reaction. I was curious to see how he reacted with that. And was it, you know, did it add to the project?
You know, man, like Marshall is like, I mean, he's that dude, man. You know, there's a lot of power in that person, you know, and you see that when you're opening up for him in front of 300,000 people at Slane Castle. You know what I mean? Like, the dude has done a lot. And there's a lot of energy that comes with that, you know? So I was very careful with it.
Sure.
You know, and respectful. You know, I looked at him like a sensei.
Sure.
You know?
Absolutely.
And that was it, you know, and that's how I treated it. And to the point where, you know, if I had to go to war with him, then that's what I would do. Yeah. You know, and because I signed up for that. That was my team. Yep. And that was my leader.
I love it.
So I rode that line, you know, and that was it, you know. I had to earn my way, you know. And he gave me great advice, man. I mean, I remember one time I was fucking so hungover, man. We were in New York City, and Mark knocked on my bus and was like, "Yo, we gotta interview ESPN." And I was like, "ESPN? What?" Oh, shit. I was like, "Yeah, ESPN's it's this television whatever program." I mean, I know ESPN, but I don't remember what the show was. But they're doing this interview, and it's like I'm in this green box, and it's like remote. So the guys that are interviewing me are in another green screen room in another state or something. So it's like it's like, you know, they got a camera. I'm in New York, they're in Miami or some shit. And the interview just went south, man. And I didn't realize how massive the show was. Massive. But I didn't follow. I wasn't keeping up with television. I still don't. I was like, so it went south, and Marshall called me like the next day. He was like, "Hey, man, you don't have to do this shit. You know that, right? Like, you don't have to do these interviews, man. You can say no. If you're uncomfortable, just get up and leave. You know? You don't have to do this. You know, if something makes you feel weird, then trust your gut and leave." And I was like, I will. I will. And I did.
Yeah.
I did a lot. I said no. I started saying no more than yes to most things after that, interview-wise. Publications, magazines, blogs, whatever it was, it was just like, nah, I'm not mentally there. And started being more choosy about, who I talk to. Like, yeah. So, and in that moment and that advice, it helped me to get my brand sharper.
It's okay to say no,
Hell yeah.
Because as you're coming up, you're on the
Hell
grind.
no.
And you're like, I want to just do everything I can, but you get to a point where it's like, actually, no.
Actually, no.
Yeah.
I'm good. Yeah. That's Bob told me that too, Kid Rock.
Yeah.
He was like, dude, just learn to say no.
Yeah.
It's powerful. Don't take first offers, you know what I mean? Like, just no, good. And then, like, it's like you put no's through a strainer to get that one yes.
That's right. That's good advice. After that tour with Eminem, like, when did the Slumerican brand start?
Dude, Slumerican started as a phrase. And then, dude, that was like, fuck. The concept of it, 22 years ago, maybe. I just started calling things Slumerican. It was like Slum American, Slumerican. And that was just like, at first it was just visual, like, that dude in the big 4x4 pickup truck, but he's listening to UGK. That's some Slumerican shit. Or like broke down Cadillac on bricks in front of the yard with the weight bench. Just visually, that's some Slumerican shit, and then it became, then I put Slumerican down the back of one leg and then Shitison on the other. And I was like, yo, if I ever get arrested, then the cops can just read my legs while I'm on the ground. I'm a Slumerican Shitison. And then I went up to Atlanta and recorded a record with Killer Mike called Slumerican Shitison, because I started throwing it around so much. I was like, yeah, man, this makes a lot of sense. This is a way to label who we are, label this culture. This culture is very specific, but this is a great name for it. And the idea of, from fashion to art to music to photography, whatever you do, if you get it, there's a way to put it, to involve it in what you do. Like if you're, you build Harleys, but you get the music, you understand why you like Harleys, and you also like the White Yoakum, but you also like NWA.
Yeah.
And there's a certain cloth that you're cut from. And so, at one point, honestly, we had more people in the world with Slumerican tattoos than we hadn't even printed a shirt yet. It was like this idea. So, so we started creating a company and a brand. And now, dude, we've got a whole merch company over in Berry Hill where we print and distribute all our own stuff. An imprint situation for Slumerican for artists, residency at the East Iris, whiskey company, Creekwater. Shot a movie in Mexico that'll be coming out soon. Under the Slumerican imprint.
Oh yeah, what was that? Was when was that movie in Mexico?
Mudmouth. Zilla. When did we shoot Mudmouth?
2020, right in the middle of the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
What was that like?
Oh, we shook it during the pandemic. That's why me, DJ Paul, and we got 2020 tattooed, because we considered it the year of the hustler. Like, and when all the lights go out, who's gonna shake it up? So we shook it. We went out to Mexico and shot a movie during the pandemic.
What part of Mexico were you in?
Mexico City is where we stayed, but we shot the movie, from 4 hours outside of the city to 30 minutes outside of the city.
How much time did you spend down there?
We were there for a month, right? Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, a month. Yeah.
How did you like the area?
Oh, I loved Mexico. I love Mexico City.
I do too, man.
I think it's one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Man, people, it's like an under recognized place for Americans. Like they hear Mexico City, like what? That can't be that cool. I was like, no, it's a cool city, man.
No, it's rad. And I think there's a bit of like the hype around the cartel and all that stuff. It kind of keeps people shook, but it's
Sure.
they're the best people.
Yeah.
You know, Mexico City, they're so accommodating and polite, and it's just a beautiful city. I mean, what other city has pyramids that are 5,000 years old, like up the street?
Yep.
You know, so it's like, so their ancestors are still there, right there in the city. You know what I mean? That's crazy to think about.
Did you go to any of the
I mean, there's
pyramids?
someone in that city alive that had an ancestor 5,000 years ago in the same place.
Yeah.
That's lineage, you know?
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah, and you see them work. Like the crew obviously were all locals, and the way they worked, you know, like rigging and like, you know, moving cars and whatever, you get, you know, you understand how the pyramids were built. You know, those people are insane. They hand sweep the streets, man. They put Armor All on their garbage trucks.
Really?
Yeah, they shine their tires on the garbage trucks. They take pride in everything they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. And like just culturally, man? Like I saw a funeral procession from my hotel looking down, coming down the main street. All lowriders, all Aztec paint jobs.
Oh,
and,
nice.
You know, like the real.
Yeah.
Where it really came from. You know, all that influence. It was sick, man.
Yeah, man. No, I love that. I love that culture. I love Mexico City. Did you go to any of the pyramids?
Yeah.
Did you go visit?
Oh yeah, my manager is a nut about pyramids.
Or did you go to Teotihuacan?
Where'd we go?
Went to Teotihuacan.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the third and fourth largest pyramid in the world there.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Tallulah. Yeah, no, that's the whole area. What did you think of those, like standing on those giant pyramids?
Well, we couldn't get up on them, could we?
Not Teotihuacan, but we went to Cholula and were able to move around there.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's just mind blowing, man.
Yeah.
With the human race is a lot older than we're told. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we've been around a long time.
A long time. Man, when I was doing Ibogaine, this is probably 15 years ago, I had this vision that the world had, because I was asking, like, where do we all come from? And at the time, I was very against organized religion. And it showed me that the religion was good because it gave people hope specifically and not just giving up. But then it showed me the world being destroyed and building up, like from the grass to the trees to then the concrete, then destruction. And you know, this thing that had happened multiple times. I don't know if it's true, of course, but that was the visions that the Iboga had given me. So
Wow. That's crazy.
yeah.
No, I do believe that, you know. I believe it's heavy. We are from the stars. We are what we are, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you done any psychedelics?
Oh God, yeah, dude. What?
Yeah.
I got so heavy into drugs and shit when I was way too young to be doing what I was doing. But yeah, I started smoking weed and when I was like, I don't know, 11, you know, and then by 12 I had already done Sherm, you know.
What's Sherm?
It's like embalming fluid, I think. Isn't it?
I haven't heard of
Isn't
Sherm.
it? You put like embalming fluid on a cigarette or some shit.
Okay.
And then it went from that to huffing Freon out of trash bags, 13, 14, you know, doing all the white trash shit, sniffing glue, whatever to get stoned, whatever to get high. So yeah, by the time I'm 14, 15, I'm doing paper acid and Antioch, you know, skateboarding and then I got into mescaline and the gel caps and doing big trips on that. And then finally I was in Atlanta and I got one of those pyramids had like gold. They were black with like gold. There was like some sort of gel. And I did that shit and some Special K at the same time, some ketamine.
Oh man.
And I couldn't come down out of my trip. I was actually scared that I got stuck. I was like tripping for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then whatever I would drink would trigger that trip again. I couldn't smoke weed. I couldn't drink. So when I was like 17, 18, I was in Alabama about 17. And my boy's like, do some shrooms, it ain't the same. Do some shrooms, it ain't the same. I was like, nah, man, I'm telling you, man, I got stuck. I ain't trying to go back there. No, it's not the same, it's not the same. And my fuck dumbass, we went and jumped a fence. Got shot at, by the way, by this farmer. Jumped this fence at this farm and picked these mushrooms out of some cow patties. And I was an idiot. I ate a handful of them wet, not even dry.
Oh, man.
Just straight out the patty. Terrible idea. And bro, when I tell you, I tripped for like a month, I think.
Oh man.
I clicked completely out. Something happened. And I wouldn't leave my grandmother's side. I wouldn't do shit, you know? And after that, I was completely bone sober for about 5 years. Mm-hmm. Like I couldn't even drink a Coke, you know, like anything that would take me out of being, you know, that I was so scared of tripping again.
Yep.
So nowadays, man, I just drink. That's all I do. I can't even smoke weed. I love weed, but I can't smoke weed because it triggers some bipolar shit, you know?
Yep.
You know, it's like, it sucks, man. I went too hard, too young.
I've been there, man. I've been there.
You've been stuck?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, man. And
like you want to come down and you're like, fuck, I wish this was over. That type of deal?
A number of times. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
the thing is, like, whenever that happens to me now, I don't do it much anymore at all. But if it were to happen to me, excuse me, I would just tell myself, I know will eventually be over. So all the anxiety and stuff that I'm feeling on a bad trip, I just keep telling myself, hey, 5 hours, I'll bring logic into it. 5 hours is done. You know, if let's say with mushroom, I had a bad mushroom trip a couple years ago.
But what if it was a week though?
A week, I wouldn't know what to do. Like, I'm just talking about when I've had bad trips, stuck in that, like I want to be out of here, but can't get out of it. Iovine is like that in the sense that it's so long, 30 plus hours. Like you're 5 hours in and you're like, dang, I got another 25 hours left. Like that's, I can't imagine being a weekend like you were talking about. But when I probably 15 years ago with DMT, you know, DMT is now kind of popular, but back then it wasn't. And I had been on this kind of spiritual journey with the psychedelics, and I was doing the DMT, and it's like basically spit me out and said, stop trying to figure this out. You're never going to understand it in this world. And so I hadn't done anything hardcore, like, you know, I say hardcore, but, you know, like DMT or Iboga or anything like that. Since then, I've done mushrooms, but I kind of gave up on that, you know, more in-depth search.
See, I had so much trauma, like childhood trauma, that it tapped me in anyway. Like I'm tapped, man. I've seen things in my dreams that describe exactly what you guys talk about when you talk about going on ayahuasca trips, and I know those perfect geometric shapes and all those things, and I've caught those just in my dreams, you know, and I'm not sure I want to go further. You know what I mean?
I do.
Like the astral projection, like I've had out of body experiences, you know, and I think that was just some sort of trauma that like kind of woke something up in me, you know, like whether it was that car accident I was in when I was 5 or 4 years old, or maybe some abuse, or I don't know what happened, or maybe just genetically, like, but I may have gotten something from my grandmother or great grandmother, you know, or my Native American roots that tie me into that as well, you know, Cherokee and Blackfoot Indian. So yeah, there's always been a part of me that has been seeking something spiritually.
Sure.
And when you seek it, it'll find you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I share that with you. Like, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't take much of whatever I was doing to be like tapped in. Like weed, if I smoke weed, I trip every time. I hallucinate. And so,
See?
I mean,
I don't know anyone who's ever said that to me. Like, I get it.
yeah, I do. I hallucinate.
I have a different reaction, but I mean, that's crazy. Yeah, because why is that? They say that, is there something I've heard, is there mescaline in your spine? It stays in your spine, or something stays in your spine?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. For me, the very first time I ever smoked,
That's what someone told me. Like, you feel like you're tripping acid because whatever, it stays in your spine. Have you heard that, Zilla?
Yeah, I think that might be an urban myth.
Urban myth? Yeah. All right, cool.
yeah.
Oh, no, you know why he said that? He's trying to get me to do mushrooms.
Hey,
But anyway, you hallucinate when you smoke weed?
yeah, man. The first time I ever did it, I my face turned into a skeleton looking in the mirror. I was like, oh, gosh.
Oh, boy.
And I mean, I'll do like one puff now,
Skeletor.
and I can control it. I'm like there. I'm like, I'll keep it together too. But I don't. It's not nothing on a regular basis because it's so intense. I was with some friends downtown probably about 6 months ago, and I took one hit, man, and I got so dang paranoid. I'm like, forget this, man. This isn't worth it. Like, why do I take these chances?
The last time I attempted to smoke weed, I became, every once in a while, for some stupid fucking reason, I will do it anyway. Let me hit that.
Yeah, same. Every time, like, damn.
I'm like, dude, I fucking knew I should have done this shit. And I've had 2 episodes. You know what it is? It's the times that it don't happen that'll keep you coming back.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I'm cool. No, I'm not cool. I was in Atlanta, and I had smoked some weed, and I was with Willpower and Tess and Clever. We were making Trump music forever. And I was on one, and I said, let me hit that. And I took a dumb big hit of this blunt they were smoking. Next thing I know, my pants are around my ankles, completely naked. I'm like holding myself going, please don't call the cops on me, like crying, scared to get another 5150. Just don't call the cops. I promise I'll be okay.
Right.
Fucking losing it. Fuck, man. And then, of course, fucking 8 months later, I'm good. Let me hit that. You know what I mean? It's idiot. The last time that I smoked, and this was like a month ago, I got so self-aware that I scared the shit out of myself. Like, I looked at the things that I had. I was like, oh my God, I'm Yelawolf. What have I done? How am I going to handle this? And what I'm going to do tomorrow?
Yeah.
You know, like, I can't be me. This can't be happening. Like, DJ Paul standing in my living room, you know, like, how do I know this guy? He's my hero. How did I ever meet Eminem? You know, all these things. You become self-aware. Self-awareness is really scary, dude.
Yeah, it can be.
You know, it can be. Like, if you actually break down what you've accomplished in your life, and you really dive deep into that in detail,
Yeah.
it's like, damn, man, we've done a lot.
Yeah.
You know? Done a lot.
I think a lot of times we, if we're looking to achieve and work and we don't, well, at least I can speak for myself. I don't always catch it at the time though. You know, it's like, I don't necessarily take it in like, oh, wow, we've accomplished this, and that. These are great things. It's more like what's next.
Yeah, for sure. But what's next, I'm the same. Mm-hmm. I mean, almost upon delivering an album, I'm thinking about my next move. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't even listen to the music after I've listened. Like, I never go listen to one of my albums ever because I listened to it for a year straight making it, and I got to perform it and all that stuff. But I'm always on to that next. But when you are always on to the next, you do forget the stockpile of things that you've created behind you.
Yeah. So it takes that weed every now and then to make you think about.
Yeah, we start diving into that book that you wrote.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so I get it, dude.
Yeah, that's the introspection, man. With Ibogaine, It was
Introspection?
deeply introspective. It was like I would look at. I was like 5 years old. My dad was, say, yelling at me, and it made me realize I'm this way because of that. Or I'm 7 and, couldn't get I didn't get a pair of tennis shoes. Some like what seemingly stupid things that didn't make any difference, but it was actually lining up points in my life that actually changed, or made me who I am, today. So deeply introspective.
I always have like this, compartmentalizing things that have happened. That's always been like it's definitely a source of like an infinite amount of creative energy because of these compartments that I can open and go into. And for that, I'm very thankful, for those things. And I've heard like compartmentalizing things is not healthy for you. I've been told that by like a psychiatrist.
What did you say back?
Well, I mean, I was just like, I hear you, but it certainly works as a writer. Sure. You know what I mean? Like, I know how to get to those places if I need a source of energy. And like, it's like a different room in a house. It's like, that's my house, I know the key to get to that door.
Yeah. Don't have to go in there every day, though.
And I don't have to burn it down either.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think, having it there is like, if it's a dark room and I don't need to go in there, then I won't. But if I do need to go in there for some dark energy, then maybe I, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's like a Taoist philosophy, like with the yin and the yang. So like where you have your shadow. And, once you become okay with your shadow, you can tap into your shadow when, you kind of need that. And same thing, there's something called...
We have that discussion all the time, don't we? I think tapping into that dark energy is it's vital. It's part of our survival,
You have to be that person you might not want to be at the moment, or might not want people to see. And same thing, there's something called a golden shadow, which is like the good version. I think people are really afraid of that. And that compartmentalizing, though, it's kind of a good thing, because you don't want that person that sometimes you need to be to come out all the time. But there are times where I did like a 6-month shadow course, and kind of teaching you how to at least play in it, to understand that it's there and to be okay with it and to understand the different parts of it. And I've used it a lot in business. I'll be in a conference room sitting, and I just tap in, man. And, I'm able to, just say the uncomfortable thing, or, say be somebody that I don't necessarily want to be. For me, I don't want to be just mean to people, but sometimes you got to be an asshole. That's life.
Thank you.
Yeah. So,
amen to that. I mean, yeah, like some people don't understand. Please stop. That doesn't resonate.
Right.
You have to be. You gotta go dark sometimes. And immediately. And that's the other thing. Having some things need to be handled immediately. But yeah, man, like as far as like playing with like dark energy in general, like I relish in that, I love that. And it's also my favorite music to make is darker music. And I want to say it's really my fans' favorite style from me. Like all my biggest records they have a darkness to them till it's gone, pop the trunk, My fun records are fun, but as far as the ones that like set with the fan, are dark. And but I do things to scare myself just to stay sharp.
Like what?
You know what I mean? Well, first of all, I'll black out my house, and turn everything off. And you know, walk into the basement alone, you know, like walk slowly up the stairs out of the basement as slow as possible, you know, like feeling that energy that you think is chasing you. You know, those childhood fears, you know, I will walk into the woods in pitch black night alone, just straight as far as I can walk into there. Standing on the edge of cliffs, you know, but you know, like, or scaring other people, which is fun. Like being the villain, you know, like I was in Europe one time, and somewhere outside of London, we had found this like castle hotel thing, and it was rumored to be haunted. Like it was on all these television shows, TLC, History Channel, like whatever, and they had documented the ghosts that are in this castle or whatever. And there was actually brochures in the front. When I heard about it, I was like, we got to stay there. We have to go. And I want to be in the room, whatever that room is that's the most haunted. I want that room. They stopped leasing it or whatever because people were getting too fucked up in there for I don't know, whatever reason. Or maybe it was just a gimmick. But so that night, after everyone went to bed, there was woods outside this castle or whatever. And so I went out to the woods as far as I could get, like snuck out the hotel, went deep into the woods, and my whole crew was inside of this hotel. And all the lights were out in this castle. And I went deep into the woods and screamed as loud as I could, like someone was getting killed. way deep in the woods, and all you could see was these lights. Click, 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 click. All the lights started coming on, and I snuck back around the castle, and I went to my friends' rooms, and I started scratching on the windows.
Oh man,
just terrifying them. And that whole time, the next day, I was like, "Did y'all hear that shit, man? It's fucking, what the fuck was that?" And they bought it all. He said, "Somebody scratched on my window, man. It's fucking crazy." After I heard this crazy scream in the woods, I finally told him at the end of the day. Yeah. Halloween is a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, man. I love Halloween too. I don't normally go dark on Halloween, but what do you do?
I'll go crazy. If I can, I'll be the most scary I can be. Try to scare the shit out of someone on Halloween.
Were you here for
walk
not
around
this
the
Halloween
woods
party?
in a mask and like just, you know, like
yeah,
peek around corners and all weird.
freaking people out. Were you here for the Halloween party? Not this Halloween, but the one before, Willy Wonka. It was Willy's Magic Castle, but we had a haunted park in the back. So you have, you know, it's Nashville, and so you have all these girls that think they're going to some Halloween party at a mansion. It's going to be, you know, blah blah blah. So they're dressed in their, you know, women Halloween type stuff.
Yeah, nurse outfits and shit.
Nurse outfits and shit. So they didn't know that we were going to have like a scary ass haunted park back in the back with, like, you know, we hired actors, the whole thing. It was set up. And there's a course and I mean, we had video. It was so funny. I mean, people freaked out. It like did the job. And the party up here was, you know, not that, but yeah, they got to go through the haunted woods or whatever you call it. And I mean, yeah, it would have scared me too, but
yeah, it's fun though. I still go to haunted houses. I went to haunted houses last year, and I gotta be honest, weak, man. I maybe it's because I'm into it so much, but I don't think anything scared me. So me and Zilla Edward, my manager, we've talked about this for years. I'm pretty sure we're gonna do a haunted house at some point. I don't know if it's gonna be in the next couple years, but we're pretty set on it. Like an official one, like a real one, like a permanent haunted house.
that's cool.
DJ Paul was talking about getting in. Shit, we should talk about that.
I'm open.
Yeah. So we were gonna do a trailer park and Project Home themed haunted house. So you get the scariest parts of like deep southern shit, you know, in the trailer park, and then it's gonna guide into the projects, you know. So you get the really, really scary shit, like, you know, cops. Like, you know what I mean? Like all themed and, you know, decorated correctly. And you know, smells and shit, you know. Smells are really scary. Textures and all that stuff. Might have to sign a waiver to come to our haunted house. What do you think?
Well, we got a building across the street where I'm not sure when we're going to start the build out for our lab. We're building a cellular manufacturing and genomics lab, but it's literally across the street.
Really?
We got it's like 9,000 square feet, big warehouse. We could maybe, it's got a big parking lot too, so maybe we could clear it out and do a 100 house there this year.
Sick.
That could be kind of cool.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'll show it to you after this.
Let's go. But Zilla used to work at a haunted house. He
Oh,
was
yeah?
he was one of the goons. He hit up in the rafter. Well, you hit up in the rafters and would like swoop his hand down and.
There's some like really, really crazy haunted houses though across the world. Like you can like, I forget what I was searching one night, but like you have to sign this waiver, and like they promise you're not going to get out without quitting. It's like 24 hours or whatever. You're like locked in this. It's almost like torture.
Yeah.
But I saw some of that stuff online a few years ago. Is that what at McCamey Manor? Yeah. I mean, there's some wild ones, but
Yeah, I've seen some of that shit where you can like pay someone to bring you to near death. Like
Yeah.
and it's like big. Like there's like months, you know, waiting lists to
yeah.
like, and it's like one guy.
that's kind of it. Yep.
You know, one guy, and he's like Navy SEAL trained for torture, and like he'll take you. I'm good on that.
I'm good.
Shit,
Yeah, that's
man.
what I say.
I'm afraid of ghosts. That's it. I ain't trying to get touched or like the snakes and spiders and stuff. I'm cool on that, man.
I don't really like snakes. I don't like snakes or spiders. Not into either
I'm
one
with
of
you
them.
on that.
But yeah, maybe we can do a
I'd
haunted
love
house.
that, man. And you know, just to bring the actual the dark vibes. I know DJ Paul would be down for sure.
That's
3-6 Mafia, fucking what? 3-6 Mafia, Slumerican.
haunted house
Be crazy.
2024.
Oh
Get
my
the commercials.
gosh. We'd kill that.
Let's do it. I'm down. That sounds like fun. You'll see.
We could do that and a show. That would be sick.
That would be sick. Yeah.
We'll do that, you know, and for us, yeah, we'll do that in the show. That'd be sick. Perfect.
Let's go. What's the new album? Yeah, you gotta. Let me make sure I don't misspeak here. War Story.
War Story.
Double album.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, I did a rock and roll album with Shooter Jennings called Sometimes Why, and that was a couple years ago, 2 years ago actually. Last week was a 2-year anniversary, and man, it was so much fun. Tapped into some creative side that I'd never tapped into. I sang the entire album. There's 0 rap verses, and
0 rappers.
yeah, no, it's rock and roll album.
Awesome.
And recorded at Sunset Sound and in Prince's old room where he did Purple Rain, which Shooter Jennings has a residency there now as a producer, which is sick. But during the making of that album and going through the rollout of that album, and then we had these crazy shows. You know, we played the Grammy Museum. We opened up for Leonard Skinner. We did some rock festivals and you know, a bunch of videos and shit. And it charged hip hop up in me. I missed it. I like really missed rapping, and I was like, man, I'm gonna pull the Love Story team back together, you know, which was Malay and Willpower. So I went out to LA and stayed at the Sunset Marquee, and I wrote the first album with Malay, and we titled that one Michael Wayne. So it's a more personal album, and it just, you know, it was crazier than we expected it to be. And I brought that album back to Nashville, and I played it for Willpower. And I was like, at first I wanted them to come together, and I was like, what are you gonna do, bro? What you gonna do about this one? Like, kind of challenged him. I was like, you really got to come with it, Will. You know what I mean? Me and Malay just crushed this shit. So me and Willpower went to Atlanta to his spot, and we locked in and did trunk music forever, which is the fourth trunk music in the series. And I just quickly realized that this group of songs with Malay and this group of songs with Willpower sounded like two different albums. And at first I wanted to intertwine them. Mm-hmm. But they just felt like two different albums. Like Speaker Box, Love Below, Outcast, you know? So I decided to split it up, and I called it War Story, tipping my hat to Love Story and what we've been through since Love Story. And the soldiers we've become, you know, the soldier I've become, the general, you know, the leader now. And so it hits on a lot of those points. And it's by far my best hip hop project, for sure. The maturity of it all, and as producers, with me, definitely the best. Willpower's at his best, Malay is at his best. And I'm excited. I'm excited for it to come out. We put out 2 singles already. Put out a single off of the trunk music side called Everything. Then we dropped the second single called Make You Love Me. And that's off the Michael Wayne side. And yeah, we got videos shot coming out. It's the second one. I think the third one is Trailer in the Sky with Jelly Roll off the Michael Wayne project. Am I saying that right?
It's New Me.
New Me. Fuck me. So the one after Make You Love Me is called New Me. So we got videos to all these as well.
Yeah. What's Trailer in the Sky about?
Someday we will all get high. Someday we'll all get high in that trailer in the sky. It's just about celebrating overcoming the odds, mm-hmm. you know, with the caveat of being who we are, you know, like, and being from where we're from.
So it was you, Jelly, and who?
Jelly Roll, just Jelly Roll and myself.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Jelly Roll singing the hook, he killed it too. And produced by Malay. And yeah, someday in that double wide, man, in the sky, we're all going to the same place. You know, it's kind of like making heaven, you know, make sense.
Yeah.
You know, from our perspective. And it's also kind of like the moment of like, you can judge someone. I was judged a lot being from Alabama, and, you know, racial tension, it has always been a thing in Alabama. And when I was growing up, it was heavy, very heavy, you know? So, to say to them, you know, at the end I won, and guess what? We're all going to the same place. Mm-hmm. You know? Like, you know, it's kind of like it's not a poke at religion, mm-hmm. so to speak, but it's a poke at the idea that you thought I had to be a certain person to make it there. Or I had to look a certain way.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not true. That's not true at all.
Yeah. I mean, you grew up in the South too. So like so much has changed in the last 25 years. I mean, I feel like I'm living in a completely different world. But I think about like religion. I was raised Church of Christ. So it was very, very strict. Like, you've got to have, you know, you couldn't dance, you know, you couldn't have instruments in church. And, you know, it's like this way of being. And a lot of great people, by the way, at that church, in and in Church of Christ. But, you know, when you're able to kind of step outside of it, that it just has to be a certain way with a lot of things in life, more opportunity opens up and you can enjoy it a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, I'm from the Bible Belt. You know how it is. You know how it is. In Alabama, I mean, there's more churches than Starbucks.
Yeah.
You know, like they're on every corner, and a lot of options as well.
Yeah.
That's a bit confusing, you know, from a kid that was raised in a house with a Ouija board.
Yeah.
And I had my moments in church. You know, I spent some time in church. I also spent time, you know, exploring. Like, I've been to mosque with, you know, Muslims. I've been, you know, hung out with Rastafarian. You know, like, I got Rastafarian friends. I have friends that are, you know, atheists. You know, I got, you know, I just kind of loosened myself from that. I don't think anybody's got, you know, a lock and key on that.
Sure.
You know, so.
Yeah, for me, man, I was raised super Christian, like Church of Christ, and I kind of fell away from it. And now I'm more back into, you know, Christianity, which has been great for me because I pray probably, I don't know, 5 to 7 times a day.
Wow.
You know, I'm constantly like, hey God, what should I do here? And just kind of use that to guide me in decision making and those type of things. And
That's great, man.
it is. It helps. It helps tremendously, man. And so it's been good something to kind of to lean on during these. You know, life gets stressful. We all have our ways of doing it, and I don't think there's good religion or, you know, like there's people bad for doing whatever they believe.
Right.
But it's been good for me to have that faith to rely on.
Hey, man, anything that makes a person a better person,
Yeah, man.
I'm all for it. It doesn't matter to me what path that you chose, you know, or whomever in the world chose whatever path. But I think it's fair to everyone to not press that on
Exactly.
another person.
I agree.
Let it happen naturally, and if you're agreeable, then it'll reveal itself that you're agreeable on something. You know, it's the pitch that sucks.
Hey, come
You
over
know,
here.
dude. I mean, the pitch is real. The pitch is real, baby. Especially on the corner of South 11th, Gadsden, Alabama. Yeah, man. All is well, though. You know, like you said, that's part of the gift of, like we were saying, you know, more questions than answers.
Yes.
You just open yourself up to that, you know.
Well, my thing is,
Never say never.
If someone's religion's so great, it's like, show me by example of how you're living that I want to go do that. You know,
sure.
And it's like the hypocrisy sometimes gets frustrating. You're like, man, you know, and like having more of a kind of an inclusive, non-judgmental. It's the judgment that I think really turns people off because we're all trying to find our way in the best way possible. Like, this is a crazy world we're living in. Some days it makes sense. Some days it doesn't make sense. Some days we feel like we have it down. Some days we feel like we don't know anything. And, you know, those that push an ideology that, in a way judges the way that maybe I'm living or you're living or somebody else is living, that's when I think it turns people away. And if we're trying to get people from a Christian standpoint to Christianity, you know, you should do it by example, not by judgment. And yeah, so that was Church of Christ for me, man, growing up. Whew, it was rough. Like I was judged constantly for what I was doing. You know, my parents are great, but you know, going through that as a kid was interesting.
Yeah.
I can only imagine going to church and having a Ouija board, like what they were saying to you,
man. Yeah, my all the way up to my great grandparents were not church people, but loved by the community and did believe in God. You know, kept Bibles in the house. You know, we weren't alienated from Jesus and talks and prayer, and that was Jesus has always been a go-to for me since I was a little boy. That was my protection, you know. It was like the prayer. The prayer is how I slept at night, you know. And but that person, that relationship is my own, you know, and I developed it on my own. So hence probably the nature of how I moved today is because that came from my own needs, you know. But yeah, man, I you know, being prayerful is important. I think so.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you know, we're talking about manifesting and seeing things. You can read a lot of the different religions, and you know that type of thing is in there. You know, the idea of seeing what you hope for and being certain of what you see, and you know, going after. You know, you have this image in 2000 of you being kind of where you're like next to Eminem, and then all of a sudden, here I am with Eminem, or here you are with Eminem. I mean, that's almost a spiritual thing.
I mean, you know? Best Friend is the song we did together says everything about, you know, my path and where, you know, where that's taken me and how I got there and what my spiritual purpose is as far as what translates through my music. I think Best Friend is I couldn't have said it better than that, you know.
I have to go listen to it. That's good.
Yeah.
What's the future for Slumerican?
Man, the future for Slumerican is expanding on our clothing and apparel brand, hosting more Slum Fest festivals that we're up on the 6th festival that we're planning on right now. Signing new talent, new artists.
Yeah. Who are you working with right now?
The artist that's coming, the first album we're dropping on Slumerican outside of War Story, which is my own, is an artist named Tony Martinez. And I did an all analog, like, country music album on Tony, and it's phenomenal. So we got Tony Martinez, Cowboy Killer, which is a hip hop artist. We've got J. Michael Phillips. What's Steven's last name?
James.
Oh yeah, we got we also have a new artist, Steven James, started working with. My boy Malay and Willpower are both moving to Nashville, Tennessee.
Where are they from?
Malay was in Los Angeles. Willpower lived in Atlanta.
Nice.
And he's already here. Malay's literally at my house, like shopping for a home.
Nice.
So he and his wife Iris are coming out here. So, Michael, Brett, and Kelly over at East Iris Studios. We had a dinner the other night with Malay and Will. We're gonna expand on that studio that we're in. Actually, that whole neighborhood is gonna get a huge renovation. So we're gonna be resident producers over there. And shit, making more videos, maybe another movie. I don't know. We got Mudmouth movie that'll be dropping probably, I want to say this year, 2025.
What's Mudmouth?
Mudmouth is a movie based on an album that I made, and it's about an LSD trip.
Ah,
Yeah,
nice.
it's about a spiritual death, is what the movie's about. So it's kind of a musical. It's more of like an art piece. Mm-hmm. You know, there's more music and art than there is dialogue. It's also half animated, like hand-drawn animation.
Oh, that's cool.
That intertwines with, you know, the live footage. But yeah, I meet this crazy chemist in the woods. He happens to be my boy, and he's all bugged out, developing this new LSD. And he sets me down and doses me, and then
Life changed.
the movie starts. That's how it opens. Yeah. So Yeah, and we shot all that down in Mexico, and it's beautifully.
Oh, that's the
shot
one that you
too.
shot in Mexico.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Mudmouth.
You play a lot of golf and skateboard,
A lot of golf,
right?
huh?
And you skateboard too.
Nah, I don't skate as much anymore.
Didn't you used to be really good though?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was really good at skateboarding at one point.
I heard a story, and I don't remember the details, but they were like, yeah, Yelawolf just went and did some type of crazy move and just landed it like it was nothing. And then, but you didn't tell anybody that you could skate. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, skateboarding is it's kind of like I've always been pretty. I keep it humble about the skateboarding. You know what I mean? Just because I love skateboarding so much, and it was such a huge part of my life and childhood, and so I don't really talk about it in my music or whatever. If I skate, I skate. That's pretty much it. But all that shit I was doing when I was a kid, it's a wrap on that shit. I just might bomb some hills and might get a tray flip out of me. I don't know, but yeah, you have to it's an exercise. You got to get into it and be doing it to be okay at it.
Do you ever do
my
that?
friends kill it.
You ever do the one wheel? You ever try that?
The what?
The one wheel skateboard. It's like electric. It's got one wheel.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's well, the ones that you stand on like a skateboard, because there's also one that you send that's between your feet.
There's one between your feet. The wheel's between your feet, and you're sitting on the board.
Oh yeah. The big wheel.
Yeah.
Like you lean to go forward this way.
Yep.
Yeah. I like cruising on those. Those are fun.
Yeah, those things are kind of like skateboarding, I guess.
These will fuck you up too.
They will.
You get
man.
worked,
dude. So Scotty, I think you met him. My business partner. He was like big skateboarder. He was a pro snowboarder too, fighter. We kite surfed together. But he got his back fixed with stem cells. He was our first patient zero for the stem cells inside the disc with Scotty.
Wow.
Completely healed his herniation. He had back surgery 15 years ago.
Damn, amazing.
And so he's, he loves skating, and he's 53 now too, and all these injuries and stuff. And so he gets this one wheel. And I know Scotty, that's like my brother. We've been best friends since 15. And he gets really cocky, and he's on this one wheel. He's got a little beer belly at the time. He's like going on his one wheel. I'm behind him in an electric bike, and I'm like, Scotty, you're getting too cocky, bro. You're gonna hurt yourself. And there's a curve coming, and he just goes over the curb, flips, completely blew his knee, tore his ACL, PCL, whole thing. And he's on the street, and you're like, and there's people running up, and I'm standing back because I wanted to see how he didn't hit his head. I just wanted to kind of assess the situation. And I was like, I said, it's your knee, right? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay. I said, you didn't hit your head. You're okay, buddy. Just relax for a little bit. But
you got work.
One wheel will mess you up.
Yeah.
If you get cocky with it.
For sure.
Yeah,
you get cocky with anything, man. You get worked. Do you snowboard?
No, I kite surf. We kite. So Scotty and I kite surf.
How, dude? That's gnarly.
It is. It's awesome.
Do you do the jumps and stuff?
Not that good. I mean, try a little bit, but I don't like to consider Scotty can. He learned faster than me because of his snowboarding and skateboarding. For me, it took me a minute to get used to the board. But yeah, I mean, it's the amount of power in that kite. You dive the kite and then you turn it up, and that's what pulls you out of the water.
Where do you kite surf?
Well, we were in Puerto Rico in 2019, okay. And then last year, Scotty and I would basically fly somewhere every other week. Actually, just 2 specific places, but every other week to go kite surfing.
Damn,
we got really into it, and then that was 2022. 2023, we didn't kite surf as much, but Scotty just got his pilot's license, and so now he can fly. He got a little SR-22 plane, and so now the plan is to fly to these different places on the work weekends, and hit it hard, man. If you ever want to go kite surfing, let us know, man. We'll get you right on it.
I'm traumatized with surfing, man. I went out to South America and tried to surf for the first time.
Oh man, what happened?
Homie. And I can still comfortably push around on a skateboard and it's in me,
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I got this. Nah, don't got it. First of all, the break that they were surfing was like 5 breaks out.
Yeah.
So I had to get through all them first breaks, you know, and like not in surf shape. You know what I mean? I haven't swam that much in a long time.
It's called paddling. It should be called paddling, not surfing.
Dude, so I'm getting worked by the breaks, getting tossed. You know, I'm out there with no shirt, so like the board has ripped me my chest raw.
Yep.
Fuck, man. And the one time that I did paddle in, as soon as I stood up on that thing, man, ate shit, man, like fucking, I was like, man, fuck this, you know, and I paddled back to shore and I was done with it. You know, but my friends who do it and are good are in love with it.
Yeah.
They're like, nah, you got to give it a second chance. Just come out with us, man. You'll love it. You'll love it.
Well, you got to learn at the right spot too. There's like
with the right
learning
people.
spots.
I went out there dolo.
Yeah, you can't do that. You get what you got. So I've been beat up surfing as well, and I can get up, but I wouldn't call myself an all surfer. But I call it paddling because all I do is paddle.
Yeah,
you know, it's like you're constantly trying to get through the damn. What is it? And the ocean's scary, man.
Oh my God,
it's like it can take you like that. I got caught in a rip current in Costa Rica this year, and on my birthday. Scotty's a wild. He's wild. We like going to swim in the waves, and that's been doing that for years. But I didn't assess that I'm a little out of shape, so get tired a little easier. And there was a break pretty far out. Scotty's got his fins. He's like, "You want a fin?" I'm like, "No, I'm good, man." So we're out there, get past the waves. He goes on one little area. The water was above my head, and trying to get back in. And I've got this current. I'm like, I can't get back in. And I start panicking a little bit. And I'm getting hit by waves, can't touch the bottom, getting tired. And I'm like, and I yell for Scotty. I'm like, Scotty, where, you know, I couldn't, nowhere to be found to help. And I start panicking. I'm like, get my breath. And I'm thinking, all these thoughts went through my brains. My girlfriend, Scotty, gonna find me dead. You know, like, I can't get back. And I'm like, don't give up. That's the thing. And it's like, you know, don't give up. And so I thought about giving up for a second. That's how tired I was. Like, I can't give up. And so I just finally can touch my feet on the ground. And I was like this with the water. And then it was higher again. But I'm like, okay, I know I'm almost there. And then fought back again. This time I was like this high. And then this high. And then worked. And finally, man, when I was waist in, the tide, the current was pulling me back, and I was like, I'm not stopping. I wasn't even going to stop to rest. I was so scared, even though I was exhausted.
Wow.
Made it to shore, and my girlfriend's like, hey, what's wrong? I'm like, you don't realize I just almost died.
Jesus. Yeah, that shit is scary. I'm terrified of that. I definitely have a phobia of like deep water, which is crazy because I did the factory trawling in the Bering Sea, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking middle of winter. But yeah, I was out in Kauai with Fifi, and we decided we wanted to take they do these trips where they take you out and in the morning where the waves are gnarly. And anyway, we go around north of the island or whatever, cruising. It's beautiful out, and the water calms to where we're at that time. And I had to piss so bad, but I was on a boat with like a bunch of strangers. Like, well, it's like the rubber rafts. You know what I mean? There's like 6 people here and 6 people on this side. We're like holding on. And I got to piss so bad that it's like starting to hurt, you know? And they were just like, just hang off the side of the boat. And when I hung off the side of the boat and saw my feet dangling into complete blackness, Bro, I couldn't piss. I could not piss. I almost had to go to the hospital because it was like 45 minutes to get back to where we were going. The passengers felt bad. They're like, no. They started jumping off and pissing in the water. You could do it. You could do it. I was like, can't do it. Can't do it. And then we were traveling, and then somebody suggests, well, why don't you just hang off the boat? We won't look. So I'm like hanging off the back of the boat. One of the passenger strangers has me by the back of my belt buckle. Yeah. You know, I'm fucking sitting there. Fifi's rubbing my back. Come on, you can do it. Like, I was like, I can't do it. I got so shook from the ocean and being out there. God, dude, when I got back to shore, I like limped to the bathroom. Finally pissed. I thought my bladder was gonna explode. This shit actually hurt bad. Yeah. And it could have happened, actually. You can injure yourself by not pissing.
Really? Explode your bladder.
Anyway, so I have probably a healthy fear of deep water. I'm cool.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe some past life shit. I don't know.
Yeah, the ocean is some scary shit, man. It's easy to drown out there. So
it don't care.
Well, man, we've been going at it for a couple hours. Really enjoyed hanging out and kind of getting to know personally your story more. You come out of Nashville and represented really, really well.
Thank you.
And I can't think of on our rap side anybody who's more talented, man. It's like
thanks, brother. Not
knocking anybody else, but your talent is undeniable, man. And the creativity, and as an artist, it's I'm a creative too, so we see other creatives, and you stand out in that aspect in a city full of very creative people.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man. Anything you want to say before you go?
Nah, man. Just thanks for having me, and anytime you want to kick it, man, just hit me up.
All right, let's do it.
Appreciate you, brother.
Well, thank you. Thank you, brother.